It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.
The EP Podcast out at a brand new business here in Evergreen Park, one that I'm really excited about, the Record Shop on 95th, and that's literally what they call it. They're on 95th Street. They are a record shop. This is a very difficult name. I'm sure it took hours for them to come up with it, and I have Jeff and Jessica with me. How are you both?
We are good.
Good. Awesome. So how long did it take to come up with the Record Shop on 95th? It's just kind of like you looked at it and you're like,
Weeks,
it's obvious?
days, months.
Yeah, days or months. That's true. I'll give you the background.
Go ahead, say
So growing up here, yes, I did grow up here in EP. So I literally went to Northwest. I went to Central. I went to EP High School. How this played out, growing up here, well, everything is where it's at and what it is. So you go to the Jewel on Pulaski. You go to, the pizza place on 87th. So we came up with the idea of very simply going Midwest on everybody and the Record Shop on 95th.
So you know what we do and where we're at.
Where you're at. I love that. Okay. And what's the exact address? Do you remember it? I know you're new. Do you remember it?
No, 3576 West 95th Street.
They're right across from the Pearl.
Literally across the street.
Like that's you say that about like that's how you identify things.
It is weird.
The Pearl has been there. The Pearl Vision on 95th has been for like 50 years.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for it, their address is across from the Pearl Vision
There
on
you
95th.
Yep, which used to actually be next to what was Walgreens.
Right, it was a Walgreens.
Right, it was Walgreens. And before that, I'll go back further, Park Men's Shop.
Right.
So.
We all know what these things are, so this is where they're at. And so it's a neat little spot. And when we put the video out on the EP podcast later on this week, you'll be able to get a look at the setup. I mean, it's really. I mean, I like record shops. I mean, I just did a thing for one of my other podcasts, Southside Pod, a couple months ago on Record Store Day, and went around to a bunch of them on the South Side. And one of the things that I hated was that there wasn't one in Evergreen Park for me to feature, because I got a record player from my sister for Christmas last year.
Awesome.
And it was a funny thing because I've never had a record player, and I thought, what a weird thing to give me if I don't collect records. And she's like, yeah, but this is what happens. You're newly divorced, and your family members try to find things for you to do because they're tired of listening to you. They're like, okay, I'm sick of listening to this. All he does is call me up and tell me about stuff because he's got nobody else to talk to. So I'm going to give him a hobby. We'll give him a record player. So now I've gone to record stores and I've looked around, and I think what I've learned is, first of all, it's odd. The new records are more expensive than a compact disc or getting the streaming thing. And I never thought that would be the case, because you think to yourself, okay, sound quality, this is not going to be the same as digital. Right. But the records themselves are pretty pricey.
Yes. Well, go ahead. No, I'm going to let you jump into that.
Well, why are they pricey?
Why are they?
If you like to describe why.
No, go ahead.
Oh my goodness.
Go ahead. I'm putting you on the spot.
It's okay.
No.
Go ahead.
Why are they pricey?
Go ahead.
Everything is
Everything's going up.
Right.
We use that excuse. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm not saying you in particular. I'm just saying I know it's like I saw like a brand new album came out, and it was like a $40 album. Like $40. That's crazy for a record.
The way that they're being pressed now too. So like Def Leppard, do you like to use Def Leppard
Def
when you
Leppard
bought
is
it
a great
in the
example.
80s?
Yep.
It was a single, but it was this thing that you could flop.
Yeah, I remember the old records
and
that
it
did that.
made this weird sound. Now they're stretching it out so that it sounds better. Now you're getting a double disc, and it's going to catch everything that you never caught before.
So you get better audio quality, because I did notice that. Like I got a Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, and so that's a brand new one. That's a newer band, and I got that. And you can hear the difference between the old AC/DC Black album that I picked up, because I was like, this is essential. I have to have this. By the way, my weirdest selection so far, like my people have laughed at me that I bought this, was Huey Lewis and the News 4.
What's wrong with that?
People made fun
awesome.
of me.
That is such a good album.
That has Jacob's Ladder on it. That is one of that.
Doing it all for my baby.
See, everybody always goes for sports.
Yeah, sports is always the big one.
But 4 was good.
No, 4 is the best one for me. Like that's the one I want.
4 is the best. I'll still go with sports, but that's okay.
I like that one. But I mean, like that. But like I find it funny because it makes me go back and get older, like artists. Like for me, record collecting, like I know some people, they come in and they want to find something weird, or they just want to discover something. I know some people that do it and they're like, I just want to just grab this album and see if I can learn something new about a band because I'm going to listen to it back and forth. I'm one of those people that goes, okay, I'm buying this. How many of these songs do I like? So that's how I do things. I go, is this an album that I loved, and would I want to listen to it without having to skip? And that's how I buy it.
I'll interject to this. So I'm kind of going backwards to go forwards here. So the sound quality aspect of it is huge now. So if you're going digital, and a lot of people, and I will use your audience and probably a lot of people my age or even her age, that literally you heard in the 90s the word remastering. And they were stripping everything from an audio file, making it digital.
Right.
Now what they have to do is they actually have to make it again to an audio file. So anything that's being recorded is being recorded digitally, but then they have to audio file it so that it gets pressed on a vinyl.
Okay.
The sound quality in general is going to be better on an audio file than it would be on digital. And everybody goes, well, why? It's simplistic. It's the way that it is made. It is the way that it is pressed. So it will be as close as you are to being in the studio with your audience.
Well, I've noticed that with the newer ones. And again, that album I mentioned, the Nathaniel Rateliff album. What was cool about that one is that it's live.
Yes. Yeah.
And so live music on a record player, for some reason, to me, is the best way to do it. Like, I have a Johnny Cash one from like the 70s, and I just picked it up at a record shop, and it was like one of those things I was like, oh, look at this. It's like live Johnny Cash. It's got about 6-7 songs I like on it. I'm going to get that because I think the live ones are the ones that I go to the most when I'm exploring in a record shop.
The music is personal.
Yeah.
We say it all the time. I mean, there's people that can't stand picture discs, and there's people that's all that they want are the picture discs. Same thing with live. It's just about everybody hears music differently. I mean, he can pick up stuff that I won't hear at all, and then
You're using So on YouTube, there's Dexy's Midnight Runners.
Okay.
Everybody remembers. Come on.
You know, I love this, first of all. I love every time we go to a business and it's husband and wife.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think it's hysterical because they look at each other like, you know. Tell that thing, you know. Like, do that thing, you know. You drive me nuts with this, so tell the rest of the people the thing that you tell me all the time.
27 years.
Right, that's right.
Right.
I love this dynamic. This is awesome.
So the aspect of Dexy's Midnight Runners, we were watching an
Come on, Eileen. That's the one.
Eileen, the one everybody knows.
Yeah.
Well, there was a recent, it's probably now 3 or 4 years old.
3 or 4 years old, yeah.
But they recorded snippets of each process of Come On, Eileen, moving it from back in the 80s to the, about 2015, 18, whatever it was, 20.
More recent.
Yeah, more recent. And me personally, Jess can't hear it, but I can hear the progression of the acoustics in every part of it changing.
At the
It's
end,
amazing.
he's like, wow,
Did you hear
all
that?
I'm like, yeah, I heard the song. I know the song. It's a great song.
So when somebody comes in here, you're going to talk music with them. That's obvious to me. That you're going to understand it. You're going to get the album. You're going to sit there and you're going to kind of geek out with them and stuff like that. Is that why you decided to do this? Like, I mean, I feel like anytime I meet somebody who's got a record shop, it's because of a love of music, a love of talking about music, and this is fun for you. This doesn't feel like a job.
I
say that when I say that to a small business owner, they're always like, "It's a job, Chris. I'm exhausted." Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Well, it is a job.
It is a job. We don't get to delegate to other people. This is everything is.
I do the same thing. Like, I like doing this, but this is a job.
Exactly. We divide everything. Yeah. So the way that if you come in here, he gets all of this. He will geek out with you. He will talk all that. But whatever he doesn't know, I do.
Yep.
Right.
So I'm the one behind the counter, but I'm still the one that's taking care of all that. But I mean, music has always been a huge part of our lives.
So I'll go. You want to go backwards? You want to go backwards now?
Where do we meet?
Well, where did you
meet at a record shop?
Of course.
Either that or you met on 95th. It was one or the other.
No, we met at a record shop that I had worked at for years.
Yeah.
She came walking in as a customer, and one thing led to another. And going back to those days before texting, we literally passed notes back and forth to each other as I was working.
Well,
was it the ones that you make into the little things and you open them up and stuff like that? Yeah.
There were some
My high school girlfriend used to do those for me. Yeah.
Well, I get to go on
the fortune teller
date.
one.
Right? Yeah. They were a lot of fun.
Do I like you?
Maybe. And that's exactly what happened. So it's great.
Hey, and it worked.
It did. 27 years later.
Right. So you meet in a record store. It's part of your vibe. And again, you're back in Evergreen Park, and you're across from the Pearl, and it's the record store on 95th. I did notice this looking around, and again, if you get to watch the video later on YouTube or see any of the clips that we'll put up in Reels, it's kind of a neat spot. You got this big glowing sign behind you. There's music playing. But one of the things that I noticed that's different from other record stores.
Here
you go. Yep.
I know. Go ahead.
You're listing the records by price and not alphabetically or by genre.
Yes.
Why is that?
That's all you.
Music has kind of become a melting pot. When you have artists like Post Malone, who just came out with a brand new country album, where are you supposed to put it? You can still put it by alphabet, and you can still have Post, but in here, you can come in and go, I can only spend $40 today. I'm going to listen to a bunch of music. What all can I buy?
Yep.
You never know. You're going to start flipping through. You're going to start finding stuff that either you completely forgot about, didn't know existed, or didn't even come in here thinking to look for. It's crazy how it is. We get to see people that come in here and going, oh my God, my mom had this album. I forgot about it. But looking at the cover art is what always triggers that memory.
Yep.
It's weird.
Well, I like how you do it because this is how I shop for records. I shop by price.
Right.
Like, because to me, it's like, okay, this is a hobby, but like, yeah, I'm not going to spend $200 in the record store. So I mean, like, so I want to flip and be like, oh God, this album's great, and then look at the price. We're like, that's a $50 album. We're not buying that.
Right.
Like, I want to come in sometimes and just collect. Like, I'm like, okay, I want to spend $30 and I want to buy 4.
Yep.
And I know what section I'm going to stand in if I'm going to go and do
That
that.
happens with the kids a lot. The kids a lot really, mom and dad, they'll save up their allowance, whatever it is. They'll have $20, maybe $40, so they can come in, but they know where they need to be. If they're looking for obviously some of the later stuff or the newer stuff, it's not necessarily going to fall in there. They might need to save up for an extra week or two, and that's the whole aspect of it.
But it's all inventory too. So if
Yeah.
you come in here and you're beelining for that one album, let us know. We'll tell you if we
we'll
have
find
it.
Right. Right. Okay, so the holidays coming up.
Yep.
You just heard that this is something my sister just came up with. Like, I'm getting you a record player, and I'm going to keep you busy because you got less to do now. Like that. Like that's. Like, you know. I mean,
So I hear we're going to see more of him.
Right. Well, I'm gonna stop because I've got the record player. I've got to add to the thing. But like, if somebody is watching this and either A, they're into records and like, okay, I got to go check this thing out, or B, let's say that they're not into it. Like, what would you recommend as we get towards the holidays? Like, what are you seeing in most of your shoppers? Like, what do they come in and look for? Kind of give me kind of a rundown of your typical record
Go ahead.
shop on 95th
Go
customer.
ahead.
No, so I'll kind of go this route with you so
Yeah.
that you understand. So now it's for people that, are we asking people that aren't into this?
I'm curious about the people that aren't.
Okay.
And then you can tell me a little bit about the ones that are.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's perfect for me. So with the people that aren't, in other words, I'll just go back to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa that used to be into it but don't understand why the kids are into it today.
Yeah.
Kids are into it now because of what we have said for many,
Yes.
many years. They've been holding a tablet in their hand their entire life, whether it was a real tablet, but now it's a cell phone. That's kind of how their lives are playing out. They also are moving so fast, they don't have time to slow down. This has made their time to actually take a
Think
moment
about-
and breathe.
You have to
They
wait
can
for
hold
that
it.
at record to end.
Yeah.
So that you can walk over and you can flip it over. So that's their moment to actually just sit
Focus.
down and focus and listen to the music, look at the artwork, and look at the lyrics and all the inserts that are in there.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that over the
It's
phone.
a big difference. I try to do that with my one son with the extensive CD collection that I have.
Right.
Because I was on the radio and every CD that came out was free. So I have a ridiculous
Yep.
amount of CDs for 10 years of doing broadcast radio.
So with
like just
promo
some of them are still in the plastic because somebody
Wow.
just handed it to me. I was like, yeah, I'll get to that eventually. I never got to it. So he got this massive CD collection in the stereo, but he doesn't do what you're saying because I think that the record is far more involved.
Yeah.
That
It
it's going to, like, he tried it, but it was the same as listening to digital music. But the
Yep.
record kind of gives you a very different experience.
It does. It really does. Go ahead, jump
No,
in.
go ahead.
So then let's go kind of fast forward to a little bit more. Then all of a sudden what happens, and we heard this years and years ago, we're going back about a decade now, Christmas. Christmas is a big time for all of this to kind of interject. So you have the grandparents or the parents that are like, I don't understand why my kids are into this. Wait until after Christmas, then come and talk to us. We've had this almost every single year. After Christmas is over. So normally about mid-January we start to see this filter in. But Christmas, what happens? These grandparents and parents all are around their grandkids or their kids. They're opening up their brand new record players. They're opening up their records, and all of a sudden they put on a Christmas album. Well, guess what? Grandma and grandpa were listening to the same ones that the parents were listening to, and now the kids are listening to it, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. How did you find this? And they start interjecting. All of a sudden, there's this thing that happens called conversations again. Whereas,
Yeah, don't say.
right, I know, it's amazing. The kids aren't going,
Right.
right, there's not dead silence.
What you're telling me is get your kid a record player.
Get your kid a record
Get your kid a
player.
record player. Get him over here to the record shop on 95th.
I'm gonna
They have them over here. I don't have them on the camera.
We
You have a stack of record players for sale over here.
We
So,
do, and I'm
yeah.
gonna give a shout out. Backgrooves Audio, we have been carrying for years and years and years. These guys are amazing. Their actual products are literally made the way that they should be and that they used to be. They're literally hardwired to just be amazing record players.
Good sound.
Yeah, great sound, great quality. Thank you guys at Backgrooves. Just letting you know.
That's awesome. Okay, so my advice to everybody get over to the record shop on 95th.
Please.
Say hi to Jeff and
Come on
Jessica. It's a brand new business here in Evergreen Park. It's across from the Pearl. What again? Intersection? What intersection is this here?
Right between, intersection.
It's on 95th.
Well, you're in between Kedzie and Pulaski. Let's go.
It's a little big.
I know.
It's a little big.
Central and Clifton.
Okay,
So
there you
Central
go.
and Clifton.
Right in there. Okay,
you go. Right.
Stop on in, and
Yes.
and again, some of these purchases are going to be a couple of bucks, or you could just browse, talk records, kind of go back on memory lane. I think that if you're looking for something for Christmas and you're sick and tired of just going on Amazon or looking at a, what should I get somebody list, this might be a stop, and I think you'll enjoy yourself.
I hope so.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for letting us see it.
Thank
No,
you.
thank
Thank
you
you.
guys. You have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, and have a
Yes,
happy
Merry
New Year as well.
Christmas.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.